Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. One of the most awkward things that people have to do at workshops is to introduce themselves. So instead of doing that, what we ask people to do is to turn to their partner and tell them about a secret power, a superpower that they have, something that others may not know about. And that's when you learn that someone loves ironing, or someone loves washing dishes, or that they can throw 300 peanuts in the air and catch them all at once. Whatever it is, it's interesting. It's slightly more interesting than what we would say if we were just asked to talk about ourselves. The problem is that we are often asked to talk about ourselves. We're asked to talk about ourselves at workshops, at events, but also to put those little blurbs at the bottom of an article or at the back of a book or someplace like that. And it seems odd. When you write an article or a newsletter, you're expected to promote yourself. When you write on someone else's websites or posts, you're expected to be clear about what you do. But what is the borderline between praising yourself, which is I'm good at this and that, or showing professionalism in some activity? Because if you praise yourself, it's not pleasant. You have to talk about yourself, what you do, and you never know what to say. And this was the problem that Rita had, and she posted this question in 5000 BC. It's a really good question. And it's a really good question because it brought out some of these answers. From now on, you'll be able to write 1, 2, 17, 100 blurbs if you need to, because it follows a pretty easy formula. There are 2 ways that I go about it. Let's start out with the first way, which is the problem, the solution, and the emotion. No matter what you're doing, whether you're doing marketing or advertising or anything of that sort, people are looking for contrast. And almost nothing is superior to a problem and a solution, which is this was before, this is after. The brain simply looks for problems. So when you enter a room, it is looking for all the obstacles so that you can go around them. And this is the same thing when you write a blurb or do anything for that matter. First, the brain, your audience's brain, they're looking for the problem. Once it has detected the problem, of course, it needs to find the solution. So when we take this first method, which is the problem solver plus emotion, we get something like this. And this is written by Leanne Hughes. And this is the blurb at the back of the book. I used to struggle with endlessly editing and reworking my workshop designs. I would take weeks to get a 2-hour session. I would agonize over the icebreaker question, if the content was right, how to make everything come alive. But with hundreds of group sessions, both in person and online, I've learned the critical ingredients for creating engaging and practical workshops. Now, when I design workshops, I step away from the computer instead of clicking through PowerPoint. I capture my ideas and structure on paper. It's joyful. I'd love to share that joy with you because workshop design should be a fun experience, not something you dread. So what's happening there? There are lots of words there. There's a little bit of editing that I would do, because even as I'm reading it, there's a lot of information. But let's avoid looking at all of that stuff, and let's look at the core of it. And the core of it is that she used to have a problem. She used to take days, even weeks to get to the solution. But now she gets there really quickly. And there's the emotion. It's so joyful. And what we have here is a process. So you're explaining to somebody what you're doing or how you used to do it and how it was problematic, how it would take you ages to find a problem with the software code, but now how you do it really quickly. Essentially, it's a before and after. You're describing a process and you're not using too many words. Probably 2, 3, 4 sentences are enough. And then possibly at the end, an emotion. How you felt relieved, how you felt joyful, how you felt whatever. And so that's one way to write a blurb. That's a process, a before and after. There is a second way, of course. And that is to put an element of surprise. Because in a blurb, you have pomposity. I did this, I did that. And somehow you want to negate that. You want to change it. You want to create contrast. So you want to bring it crashing down to earth, but in a surprising way, in an interesting way. We'll find out how we do that in the second part, which is surprise. Here are some blurbs. Rita has climbed Mount Everest 4 times, has written 12 books, and sings in 15 languages. However, she is still very much scared of spiders. Surprise. Or you can put in something that someone is not expected. For instance, Sean blah 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 blah, which is all the blah blah. And he lives in New Zealand with his wife Renuka and 64 million sheep. Right before that, they'll be reading about how Sean is an author, he does this, he does that, and then there's a little surprise at the back. The reason why blurbs put us to sleep is because they go on in one direction, and you want to have that U-turn. You must have that U-turn, or at least some sort of surprise or diversion. And of course, you want more examples, so let's go to more examples. Olivia is a bookworm who can often be found lost in the pages of a good novel. She has a quiet, introspective personality. Her love for nature has given her a deep understanding of the world around her. In the spring, however, she shears sheep, and she has a personal record of shearing 236 sheep in a day. Surprise! Dr. Karen Smith is a renowned neurosurgeon who specializes in complex brain surgeries. She is highly respected in her field and has published numerous papers on the latest techniques in neurosurgery. When she's not at the operating table, she reassembles computers from 1995. John Kim is a seasoned software engineer with over a decade of experience in developing cutting-edge applications. He has worked on several high-profile projects and is known for his ability to deliver quality code under tight deadlines. However, he has yet to make it to his sister's birthday on time, and he's working on it. Devika Subramaniam is a talented graphic designer who has worked with some of the biggest brands in the fashion industry. Her keen eye for detail and creativity have earned her multiple design awards and accolades. Her favorite outfit at home, however, are her Santa pajamas. So you get the idea. There is this pomposity, blah, 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 I do this, I do that. But then there is that turn, there is that U-turn, and that's what you're looking for. So you can do that. You can go ahead and write whatever it is that you want to say. As long as you make the U-turn, which is surprising, probably interesting. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. when you want to do a blurb, when you want to talk about yourself, you can be as pompous as you like. But if you follow these formulas, which is a problem and a solution plus emotion, then you can always tell people where you were stuck, how you fixed it, and what was the emotion. Or you can go ballistic. You can tell them that you used to climb mountains and swim rivers and dive into the ocean. But then there is a surprise at the end. And that's what people remember. That's what people will smile at. That's what they will come up to you and talk about. Not about your mountain climbing. Well, some might. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. Let's find out what's happening in psychotactics land. The thing that's coming up next is the Da Vinci cartooning course. The reason why we started this cartooning course is because someone wanted to learn to draw. But at the same time, they say, I can't draw a straight line. And then they say, I can only draw, these stick figures. Okay, we get it. That's what everybody does. That's what almost everyone who joins the cartooning course is capable of doing. And what happens is that in about 4 months, you are drawing so well that people think you're lying when you say that 4 months prior, you couldn't draw at all. You were drawing the stick figures and all the stuff that people do. So it's a big surprise. It is a big surprise to yourself, to your friends, to your family. And what it does most of all, and this is what my friend David said when he finished the course, is it gave him an opening to think of all the things that he could possibly do. And he had been told that he was not talented enough. I mean, you can learn to build a shed or, cook something, but cartooning, somehow it seems like you have to have a magical gene. Your parents have to have some skill, or they have to impart this skill to you. It just seems too far away from everything. And when David finished the course and he could draw, and he's been drawing ever since, he started to question a lot of things. And that opened up the door for other talents, for him to acquire other talents, not necessarily with psychotactics or with us, but just opened up the way he looked at the world. What also happens is that in this frenetic world, people find cartooning very relaxing. It's almost like those coloring books, except now you're drawing the stuff and then you're coloring it. So it's like double the fun. If you want to get on the waiting list, and we only have 25 people in this course, so it goes very quickly, you have to be on the waiting list. Go to psychotactics.com/DAVINCI. That's Da Vinci. Psychotactics.com.DaVinci. 5,000 BC members get first priority, but you have to be on the waiting list. If you're not on the waiting list, you will not get a notification, and that's it. You don't get any information about the course. And that's it from Psychotactics Land. I'll see you in 5,000 BC. Bye-bye. Still listening? Okay, I'll give you a little blurb about me. Sean started using Photoshop almost 25 years ago when he got his first 386. Since then, he's been able to draw cartoons and do lots of fancy stuff on Photoshop. He has won many accolades in the world of Photoshop. Not true, but it's a blurb. And then the surprising bit, which is true. Sean loves to monitor traffic lights. He will tell you how to cross at almost any traffic junction because he's been checking out the traffic lights. You don't have to press that silly button. You can safely cross when Sean is crossing. You'll get over to the other side in one piece. Bye for now.